Hello everyone, welcome to the Lifted Lifestyle Warehouse. We have a very special guest today, UFC Fighter Paige VanZant. We're going to do things a little different. I don't know if you guys saw the last video. She kind of kicked my ass a little bit. I tried to do one of her workouts. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to get to know her a little better. I'm going to ask her some questions and she's going to be so kind to answer them.
Yep.
So let's jump right into it. What were you like as a kid?
Gosh, that's a good question because a lot of people ask me why I got into this sport or why I do what I do.
Which is what I'm going to do.
Yes, exactly. But it totally makes sense because of my childhood and who I was as a kid. I grew up in the country in the middle of nowhere and I was a total tomboy.
Okay.
So I grew up riding dirt bikes. I had my first four-wheeler when I was 8 and then my first two-wheeler when I was like 5. So
What was your two-wheeler? What kind was it?
It was like one of those little 80s.
Okay.
So a little tiny one.
Yamaha 80?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. So learned how to ride dirt bikes young. I love fishing, playing in the mud.
Where was that at?
That was in Oregon.
Okay.
Small town in Oregon.
Okay.
So
I did that too. I was on 105 acres and rode ATVs
Awesome.
all day, fished, did the same thing.
Yep.
I'm really glad and appreciative I had that part of my life because I feel like it really impacted me as I grew up.
Oh, exactly. It totally shaped who I was because for my parents, it totally makes sense that I'm a fighter because that's where I started out at as a kid.
Did you play sports?
I did. As a kid, I tried a little bit of everything. I did softball, soccer. I ran cross country, and I was a cheerleader in high school. But for the most part, I was a dancer.
Which one of those sports were you the best at?
I was the best at dance, just because that was where my heart was. I was pretty well-rounded in pretty much anything I tried, mostly because I'm very competitive. So I had to be the best at anything I did. But dance, I was very good at dance.
Who was your childhood hero?
Childhood hero. Gosh, I think when I really think about it, it was more like my parents. I just wanted to make them proud, or like I wanted to hear my dad say I did a good job. So no matter what I did, I always had to work extra hard because I wanted my dad to be like, yep, you did a good job.
That's awesome. When did you know you wanted to be a UFC fighter and why?
So I started fighting when I was 15 years old. I was a dancer prior. And then I quit dance. I got burnt out a bit after doing it for 13 years. So I moved to Reno, Nevada, and my dad asked me to try an MMA class. So I tried it, fell in love with it, but I actually didn't know I wanted to make it a career until after my pro debut.
Okay.
Took a pro fight, I won, and I was like, wow, I just made money doing like fighting. Like I just got paid to beat somebody up. So then I was like, you know what? I'm taking the
That's
road.
really awesome
Yep.
because I feel like most people, they make that decision, they're like, that's their dream, right?
Yes.
And you made that decision after you already won a fight.
After I had already won my pro debut.
That's pretty
Yep,
cool.
I had one amateur fight and then I took a pro fight because I needed the money to pay for college. I took it and I was like, no more college, I'm a fighter.
How did you get that opportunity? How did that work
So
out?
yeah, I got offered an amateur fight, I took it and won, and then I got offered a professional fight for $2,000 to go out and fly to this place for this girl to make. She wanted a really easy pro debut because she had a very extensive amateur
And you
career.
beat her?
Ended up winning, and then I was
Love
like,
it.
you know what? I'm a pro fighter now.
It wasn't the easy fight she was looking for,
No,
was it?
exactly. It was a really good fight.
That's awesome. Give us an idea of what your training looks like.
I do have training, so for the most part,
Other than embarrassing me, like in that
other
last
than
video.
that,
Yeah.
yes. So I wake up, we do conditioning 5 days a week in the morning, and then throughout the week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do Muay Thai every night, and then we have jiu-jitsu, boxing, privates, all in between that. So it's all over the place, but we train 6 days a week.
What's your favorite part and least favorite part about that?
Ooh, favorite part is right now I have this like huge obsession with Muay Thai.
Okay.
So I'm like obsessed with my like coach, my training. It's where I'm really finding my skill, and I love seeing that.
Is there something that you're focusing on right now because of your arm, because you're limited, that you're just focusing on what you can do right now? Does that impact that at all?
Yes, yeah, it definitely impacts it. I cannot do jiu-jitsu right now. I can't
okay.
wrestle. I can't do any sort of ground work because if I work with an opponent, I can't predict what they're going to do. So I can't like post on my arm. I can't use it at all. So for me, I can still strike with my left hand, and then I can use all my kicks and knees and everything like that.
There has to be a part somewhere. They're like, what? You're like, oh, I have that training today. Do you dread anything? There has to be something.
No, I don't dread anything. I love all my workouts, but what I do hate
Okay.
is the car rides to get there.
Okay.
Because right now I drive like an hour and a half to get to Muay Thai, or I drive like the 30 minutes there and back from all of my other training sessions. It's miserable.
So there's not an actual aspect of the training that you don't
That I
enjoy.
don't like. No,
That's awesome.
It's what I do. I mean, and I'm so fortunate that I love my job.
That is awesome. What keeps you motivated? I mean, now this is a little bit different because I wasn't expecting you to say there wasn't any part you don't enjoy.
No.
But like when you're getting ready for a fight, what keeps you motivated to get you ready? Is it just that you want to win, or what is that? What's that driving factor?
Yeah, I mean, it can get when I'm in a fight camp, like the 6 to 8 weeks, or even now it's hard for me to stay motivated to go to the gym because I can't do conditioning, so I have to sit there and watch, or I can't do jiu-jitsu, I can't wrestle, so I have to just sit on the sidelines and watch, which you can get so much knowledge from just watching and visualizing and being a spectator, but it's hard for me to get that motivation. But my fiance does that for me because he's like, nope, you can still get a lot from going, and since I am watching him get ready for the next fight he has coming up, it's being in his corner and watching him grow and then staying on the sidelines. It's huge motivation.
So you kind of feed off of each other a little bit.
We really do, and it makes like the car rides not as bad, and we know we get to be together for every single session, and we're each other's best friends, so it's like being able to train with each other and then work out together. It makes it so much easier.
Okay, so let's a scenario here. You're getting ready to walk out to a fight.
Yep.
Crowd is going crazy. You have all that adrenaline. What are you thinking about as you go out to that fight?
Oh gosh, see, I get really nervous before I fight, so I do think like, okay, I better not puke, and then
What do you do to try to calm those
to
nerves?
try to calm the nerves, I just talk myself down. I'm like, you know what, I trained for this, I'm ready for this, I'm prepared. And then I have like my coaches talking to me in the background saying like, this is what you've been training for, and it's like just those common voices like telling me that I'm prepared and I'm ready and I've done everything I could do to get ready for that fight. So the moment before I walk out though, it's that moment I have to just soak it all in, and I'm so happy, and it's like I've worked so hard to get just to fight. So we train 6 days a week consistently 24/7 just for 15 minutes in the cage to fight for. So it's like then I'm like, okay, I made it, the hard part's over, I get to just go show off.
Have you had a fight yet where Austin's in your corner?
I have. He cornered me for my last fight, and
Okay.
I think he may have been more nervous than I was, and I've cornered him for 2 of his fights.
Okay.
So having him in the corner is awesome because he does have the skill set to also be in my corner because he's a national champion wrestler. I get to have like that wrestling coach in the corner, but I told him just to keep his mouth shut.
Did that help you though when you were like trying to calm your nerves having him there?
It did, but also it's we only get 2 people that come in the cage. So my coach, my jiu-jitsu coach and my striking coach came in the cage, and they're telling me things. And with my last fight, there was just so many circumstances, and it doesn't actually throw me off when like funny things happen in the corner, because for each fight I've had different corners, different circumstances. I've had my dad corner me. I've had like random strangers offer to corner me. So for my last one, my striking coach forgot to bring my stool in, and there was just like chaos in the corner, and then I broke my arm in the fight. So I told my coach, I was like, hey coach, my arm's broken. And I was just like, so.
Tell us a little bit about that. Was there a moment when you realized I just snapped my arm?
Yeah, it was instant. So
Okay.
I threw the strike, I threw a spinning back fist, and my forearm hit her forehead. And it needed to be just like 4 inches lower, and it would have been perfect.
Right.
But hit her on the forehead, and I broke my ulna. So it was just that moment when I told my coaches, like, hey, my forearm's broken. And then they're like, he totally didn't believe me. He thought like, oh, it's hurt, but it's not broken.
Right, sure.
So they went in the corner and just discussed it. They're like, hey, do you think your arm's broken? And they're like, no, it can't be broken. Like, she's still fighting, it's fine. And then afterwards, I was like, yeah, my arm is broken. And then we go to the emergency room and get the x-rays, and it was like totally like cracked in half. So it was like during the fight, like that decision to either keep going or like tap out was like that constant like playing in my mind, like what do I do, like what's the right decision, because it did hurt really bad.
Sure.
But also it's like I could make it 5 minutes.
It didn't hurt
like,
really bad because you had so much adrenaline going, but any other situation, it would have been
Oh,
excruciating.
yes, gosh. And then my biggest thing that I was listening to, I like stopped listening to my corners and I was listening to her corners. And I was like, all right, do they know my arm is broken? Like I was trying to hear
Trying to
if
pick
they were
up on
like,
it,
trying to,
yeah.
if they were picking up on it, because I was only throwing my left, and they never once picked up on it. So I'm like,
Really?
all right, I'm all right.
So you
I'm
did a
good
good job hiding it then.
Yeah, I tried to hide it the whole time. So it was definitely a big obstacle to fight through.
Wow. So I know you posted on your Instagram last week giving an update on your arm. Can you do that for us?
I can. So I went so each month I get an x-ray on it to see the progression of the growth. After the first 2 months, I had surgery almost going on 6 months ago now. So at month 1, they look at it and there was no progression, no healing. I went back month 2, still no progression and no healing. So they gave me a bone growth stimulator. So I've been wearing that and doing taking all the time off the gym.
How does that work? Is it it's on the outside?
So it's like a small ultrasound machine that you actually wrap on your arm.
Okay.
And then it stimulates cells to make it heal. So now I just went back for my 5-month post-op and the bone hasn't healed at all. Okay. So right now my bone's not even connecting. There's just a crack.
So there's been no progress at all.
There's been no progress. So even though I have the titanium plate and 7 screws in my arm, it's holding my arm together so I can do this and move it, but it's still broken. So now the next step is they considered it a non-union and they have no idea why or for what reason it didn't heal, but the next step is we're going to take this plate out, take a bone graft from my hip and fill the crack and then put a bigger, more serious plate in and then I'll have it casted for 2 months. So everything's completely held still and it's a ton of pressure forcing the bone to grow.
Okay. So when you get that bigger plate put in, are you going to be able to see that from the outside? Is that going to become now your weapon?
Yes.
You just backhand everybody?
Once it heals, I'm probably going to backhand everybody. But they said, I'll probably be able to feel the plate.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I think you have an amazing career still ahead of you. But I want to know, up until this point, what is the best moment? What is that moment you're like, this is amazing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The best moment for me is definitely my UFC debut.
Okay.
Is when I walked out because I had only had, I was 2-1 as a professional. I only had 1 amateur fight. I was very inexperienced. So I was walking out to the cage and I was like, what am I doing? And I just thought I was gonna puke. And then I just started I just was like, you know what? I need to take this moment in and I need to remember this forever. And I was just tearing up because I was so excited to make it to the UFC. That's every fighter's dream. So I went out there and ended up finishing the girl with a TKO. And afterwards I just couldn't control myself. I just started bawling and crying because I was so excited and I never thought in a million years I would win that fight.
See, I think that moment you just explained is what every person who hasn't had the opportunity to play professional sports, that they envy so much. You see someone after they won a fight and you see that euphoria that they feel. You see someone just won the Super Bowl or NBA Finals and everybody wants that feeling so bad.
Yep. It's so cool. When everything you sacrificed, all the hard work, it's it paid off. It was actually worth it.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to do something a little different now.
Yep.
I'm going to throw one word at a time and you're going to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Dennis.
Oh, my baby. He's my baby.
Dennis is her dog.
That's my dog.
In and out.
Amazing.
That was where she wanted to go right when she got here. Music.
Hip hop.
Cyborg.
Killer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Family.
Oh, my everything.
Knockout.
Best feeling in the world.
Injuries.
They suck. It sucks.
Austin.
My love.
Comeback.
It's gonna happen. It's coming.
Okay. We're gonna have a few more questions and then we'll wrap this up. What do you like to do the most outside of training?
Outside of training, Austin and I, we don't get a lot of downtime. Especially he's in a fight camp right now, and we take turns in fight camp. So it's I fight, he fights, I fight, he fights. So we're pretty much consistently in the gym. But for a lot of breaks, is now we go to hot yoga together, and that is it's our date night,
and
it's
so
awesome. Oh, we are planning a wedding.
Yeah, there's that.
So there's that. So I'm planning my wedding. Moving, having surgery, he's fighting. So we have a lot going on consistently. So it's the little things, and we get to actually just stay home and watch movies. Every now and then we'll go down to the river and paddleboard is a huge getaway for us. So just little things here and there.
I've also heard you like to cook.
Love cooking. So I actually try to cook dinner every night for us, especially
awesome.
when Austin's dieting. I can make us something that's really healthy but still tastes really good. So yeah, I love to cook.
That's huge because that's one of the biggest challenge when you're prepping as an athlete or even bodybuilding, whatever, is the food side.
Yep.
So the fact that you know how to do that, that's awesome.
Exactly. The diet part can change everything. So cutting weight, just trying to lose weight or stay healthy, eating food that tastes good makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
so
people look at dieting a lot of times and they think I have to be miserable the entire time.
yes,
it doesn't mean you have to taste or eat stuff that tastes terrible. You know, like you are going to be a little bit miserable towards the end when you really have to start cutting down everything. But if it tastes good at the same time, it makes it so much
so easy. Yeah, it makes dieting easy.
Okay, if you could pick any other career, anything,
okay,
what would it be?
Okay, so as a kid, I wanted to be a firefighter.
Okay. Does that still be it?
I don't know. Now I would think a professional chef because I do love cooking. But cooking is so much for a hobby for me right now that I like having it as a hobby, but
yeah, it kind of changes it when you have to try to start monetizing it.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes that pure enjoyment that was there before a little bit out of it.
It takes it out of it because it's a job. But okay, I know what it is though. I would be a NASCAR driver.
That's pretty awesome.
NASCAR driver.
That would be pretty.
Or a motocross driver. One of those two.
Like
on motorcycles, like the track.
So you wanted to do like freestyle or like actual racing?
No, racing.
Okay,
yeah.
That's cool too.
Racing, motocross.
All right, so we talked about it a little bit, but your fiance is a fighter as well.
Yes.
So what is the dynamic like with you and Austin in a relationship, both being fighters?
So it makes it so great because we are living the exact same lifestyle, and I'm actually further along in my career than he is. I started a lot earlier than he did. I've been fighting for 10 years now, and he's only been fighting for 2 or 3. He does have his wrestling background.
That's so crazy. You say you've been fighting for 10 years and you're 24, right?
Yes. Yep. So I've been fighting a lot longer than he has. So it's awesome because he gets to see the progression where he needs to be. I know the pathway to get him to where I am, and we understand each other's lifestyle. Like I'm the one who helps him through his weight cut, and he helps me through mine. So it's when he's dying on the floor and he's like miserable, any normal person would be like, why are you doing this?
But you understand.
I understand, I know why you're doing it, and I tell him when he needs to push harder, I tell him when he needs to like cut back, and it's understanding the dynamic of our careers, which takes over our entire life.
Sure, because even with like a business, if you start your own business, you have to put so much into it, so much time, focus, or career. And if your spouse doesn't understand that, sometimes they can feel that you're not prioritizing them enough.
Yeah, or
so when that comes in, now you guys understand what it takes, and so that kind of leads
exactly. And he can travel with me to some stuff, but then I also understand when he needs to choose to stay home, or he needs to choose to go, to make those sacrifices. And it's just understanding the sacrifices and knowing what it's for.
And it's worth it. Right?
Worth it. Yep.
Okay, so your book came out.
Yes.
And I want to ask you kind of an interesting question. Actually, if you want to say anything about your book first, and then I'll ask you this question.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited. I had been writing my book since I was like 14. I had been I always loved to write, so I write little pieces here and there, and then it finally took until I'm in my platform where I am now, where I felt I should actually release it to the public, and I was so happy. It came out a few months ago now. So
was there something specific that made you want to release it at that point?
Yeah, I think that I sent it out to my manager. I was like, hey, I wrote this. What do you think? Would would a publishing company ever want to pick it up? And he's like, oh my God. He's like, this is amazing. So he sent it off to a publication company. It got picked up immediately. And I had a few different girls, but one in particular, this little girl, Alexa, that had messaged me on Instagram. And just hearing like all the struggle she was going through and how she had nobody to look up to. She had no female role models and was just really struggling in life. So I was able to meet up with her when I go to New York, and I take her out to dinner and we hang out, and I'm able to text her constantly, just because it's like seeing somebody young and struggling, and knowing I was somebody young and struggling without somebody to look up to. I felt like it was the perfect time because I was put on this platform for a reason, and I feel like putting my story out is like part of the reason.
I love that. So you're pretty vulnerable in this book.
Yes.
When this was coming out, were you afraid at all? Was there any like fear of that vulnerability?
Yes, I was terrified. And there was like a few moments in particular when the day the book was released, I actually deleted all social media off my phone. So I didn't want to know anybody's reaction. And being in the public eye, you're gonna get negative comments.
Sure.
And I was.
No matter how well you do, no matter how perfect you are, you're always gonna be critiqued.
There's always gonna be critics out there, and so I didn't want to know how I was doing. I just knew I was meant to put the book out. So I put it out, deleted all social media off my phone. I was in New York with Austin and his mom, so we were able to just kind of enjoy the city and go from different show to show, and like go on the different shows in New York, but then just kind of like relax.
So you said that little girl that reached out to you, do you think it was people like her that was able to get you over your fear of releasing it, like it made it worth it? Like, I can get over my fear if it's gonna help those people.
Oh yeah, and it's like having people reach out to me on social media and just vent and tell me their entire story. Like, if they can trust me that much, then I should be able to trust them. And I felt it was just the perfect moment. And it was hard because I was walking through Times Square, and all of a sudden, like, on the ESPN's like reader board, I get to like see my story flashing on it, and it was like a bittersweet moment. Like, cool to see my name in Times Square, but it was still a hard moment for me to get through. But it was all worth it in the end, and I feel like the people who have read it and connected to it and found inspiration to it just made it worth it.
Okay, so my question I was going to ask you is, if someone wasn't going to be able to read the entire book, and you want them just to read one part of it, what would it be?
One part of it. Oh gosh, hold on. Let me look at the chapters. Because there is specific chapters, I think. Okay. So I think the best one would be the chapter called Born to Fight. That's a really good one, because that's, if you are like, a fight fan, that's where I became who I was as a fighter. And it's like where I really rose up and decided that my life was going to change. So.
And that's your favorite because you feel like if someone was going to read it and that was going to happen in their life, that's what they
Yep, that was the moment where everything changed, where it's like I found my confidence again, and it's like I went from a dark past to a bright future.
Using that to drive you to something positive.
Yep,
I love
exactly.
That. Makes sense. Okay. Well, this is actually kind of in line with what we were just talking about. My last question for you is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard.
What do you want to be remembered by if there was a message that, when they associate it with Paige VanZant, obviously fighter, all these things that you do, cook, chef, author, all that stuff. But if you just wanted them to remember like a message that you left behind, what would it be?
Oh gosh. I mean, I want my legacy to be I was a fighter. And through all the things that I do like cooking shows and Dancing with the Stars and everything like that. I've just kept fighting through every challenge, through every obstacle, through every new experience that comes my way. I fought through them all. And I think that's, it started from like my book, where it was like I was just a kid and I fought through adversity. I fought through different challenges just to get to where I am today. And I think that that'll be the message, that even if you don't physically fight in a cage, you have to continue to fight.
Yeah, everybody in their own way. We all, some are more severe than others, but we all are fighting our own fight.
Your own battle, yep.
And you have a choice. You either let it beat you, or you figure out a way to get past it and learn from it and move forward. And the thing is as you go on and you fight more battles, you learn, right? You get stronger, you get tougher. So then every time more battles come on, that next opponent or that next challenge, you use that from your past and you're able to handle it better. So that's awesome. I like that. So this actually leads perfectly into that. We have a wall in our warehouse that says, "What do you fight for?" Everybody that comes to visit or people that train with me or whatever, they sign the wall and they write what motivates them, basically what their legacy is going to be. So if you'd like to sign that, we'd love for you to do that. Let's go do that right now.
Hold on, get through, you'll make it out.